10. But it was this patriotism to think that because the nation has put something, has invested in you, it was proper to come back. And here we are in the studio talking. So yes, I believe that this scheme is a welcome development. Whatever criticism we are making is to make the loan better so that we don't repeat what has happened in the past. Like the comrade here said, there was a student's loan which became defunct. So whatever recommendations that was made by other confab was to return to status quo, only to review the flood areas, and that time people could take loans, and there is a problem of repayment, of tracking. Now, I was wondering they would talk about BVN paying the money to the student's account so that you can test it. And because of BVN now, whether you have 5 accounts, it is still linked to you. So once you finish and you get a job, whether the employers take us to, bring your case to the government or not, whenever money touches your account, I think the CBN should be able to know that this person has accessed that account. I am a board chair in schools. I know the schools that I'm a board chair that has taken loan and has not paid, and the money counts on me as if I'm the one who took the debt. You know, so this is doable. Let's just hope that we will go ahead and do this and not be like any other scheme that we've done in the past. And I believe that those who would have, like me some years ago, who couldn't have acquired, would not have what it takes to acquire education, will acquire higher education. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hayab. Professor Maman, we need to get back to you now because, as I said, because of time and the fact that you will leave us shortly. I want you to also speak to the number of times a particular student can access this loan. We have some people who want to get all the degrees and, yeah. So, I mean, you're done with 1 degree. Because after all, it's almost free now. The government is paying for it. So you tell them, oh, I'm going for a 2nd degree, or I want to study another thing and all of that. So just let us know, is it open continuously? If I want to study till I'm 60, I can benefit from the loan. And then what happens to the schools? Dr. Hayab has said this would encourage people to go to school. At the moment, we're having schools not having adequate facilities to meet up with the current reality. Now you're going to have more people wanting, in the schools. If you do not strengthen them, they would also break down. They will not be able to handle the capacity. So what happens to the schools since we're trying to build the education sector with this loan?
Well, starting with the first question, certainly it's a necessary intervention for those who aspire to acquire qualifications to be able to have a decent livelihood. So for somebody who wants to go on a 2nd degree, or whatever other qualification, that's clearly a luxury. So it will not be eligible for that under the law. And even parents, a lot of parents say, look, my responsibility is only to give you education, your 1st degree. If you want to have master's, PhD, you're on your own. Not to talk about government. So certainly it will not avail anybody who wants to go for a 2nd qualification. And then in terms of capacity of universities and beneficiary institutions, I don't think, yes, that level of amount will help them a lot to improve facilities and infrastructure. But I don't see that amount of money overwhelming any institution, any management of any institution, to the extent that they will be run by students. No, it will not happen. If anything, a lot of institutions are underfunded, and they can. That is a very important source of income for them to improve facilities for students. And what they need to do is diligence and diligent application of those additional resources. And I think these are some of the major multiplier effects of the institutions getting the funds directly so that they can now use it for planning purposes. And like yesterday when I had a Curtis call from Ahmadu Bello University, there are about 51 or 52,000 students. So you can imagine if half of those were to be on, or more, would be on the loan, and the amount of money that will come to the university would be a lot. And one of the issues that was a problem which they raised was issue of power, energy, servicing their energy, which is about 120 million per month. So they'll be able to service their energy, provide sufficient light for students, service the laboratories, and do all the basic things which they need to run a very good university. So everybody is a beneficiary from this. Parents, the burden would be off their neck. They can now take their attention to other matters of concern for the family. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. But as we said, the problems in implementation, especially the repayments, will not come on board until the first set of beneficiaries graduate. And before then, a lot of reviews will be made to see any gray areas, and then so that they cannot be tightened. But our concern at the moment is to ensure that it takes off, and then eligible students have access the funds, and then they concentrate on their studies without the distraction of poverty and want.
Okay, Honorable Minister, before we let you go, the issue of limited resources is a serious concern. How many students, can this loan cover? And also, that the federal government is setting up like a management board for the management of this NEL fund, where, there will be managing directors and all that. And they will also be paid from this fund. So do you think it will actually be adequate, or is government looking to other resources and other means of getting funds for this?
Well, under the law, if you look at the source of funds for this agency, it is very robust and multiple. And so I can imagine that, this agency is going to have sufficient funding for its needs. And then by the time, again, the students or beneficiaries begin to repay, that's also another additional source of money for them. And then it's also allowed to invest the money that will be accruing from the various sources. So there's very robust provision for funding this agency. And of course, those who will manage, the management of the fund cannot be financed from any other source other than the fund. And remember also that part of it is the appropriation by the National Assembly. So the source of money for this is very multiple. All that will be needed would be some level of diligence in managing the funds so that, it doesn't fall foul of, it doesn't run into the kind of problem that we've seen some new agencies run into with management way overboard in terms of the size of the agency itself, and then the emoluments accruable to them. It's a public agency, so I expect that the emoluments will also be tied to what is paid to public sector employees, even if there will be incentives here and there. And then we are there. The supervising ministry will be there also to ensure that they stay in check, the management stays in check. And there's a reporting mechanism, I think every 6 months, on the financial status of the fund. At the point when they are doing their budget, when they have to pass it through the ministry, to ensure that there's a proper and diligent utilization of the funds, as the president has demanded in his remarks when he assented to the bill.
Very much, Honorable Minister. We have to let you go now because you already asked to be let go by 8:30. I want to thank you very much for bringing more clarifications to the issue this morning. Well, that's Professor Tai Maman, SAN, Honorable Minister of Education. Thanks for coming on the program. Good morning, Nigeria.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. Yeah, welcome.
Well, we'll take a break now. Good morning, Nigeria continues. Stay with us.
Fellow Nigerians, it is a good thing to be Nigerian. Good news! The Office of the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is organizing the National Fabric Competition, the #One Nigeria Unity Fabric Competition. The aim is to create a fabric design that would be indigenous to Nigeria, showcasing our culture and unity. This competition is looking out for creativity, concept, and the message of unity. Open to Nigerian youths, both male and female, between the ages of 15 and 25 years. And guess what? You can apply wherever you are in the world as long as you are Nigerian. The winner of this competition goes home with a cash prize of 25 million naira. Are you sure I will not apply for this competition? Submission of entries close on Sunday, 30th of June 2024. Submit your entries by sending pictures of your designs via email to unityfabric.ofl24@statehouse.gov.ng, making sure you capture all parts of your designs. Together, let us unite Nigeria!
Nigeria means a lot to me.
And Nigeria means peaceful cohesion.
My country.
We continue to pray, and then hopefully we will come to understand that unity of purpose, unity of living together.
Our ethnic beliefs and background and culture is our strength.
Ever since the amalgamation period of 1914 to date, about 109 years ago, the people of Nigeria live very peacefully with one another.
I think diversity helps a lot to enhance robust development in Nigeria.
All over the country, you have so many ethnic groups, over 250. That is enough to tell you that this is a blessed country, and God has kept together as one indivisible entity.
This Sunday, Monza, Napoli. Monza versus Napoli. Sunday, live on Sporty TV.
SportyBet sponsors coverage of the Italian Serie A.
All right, welcome back. It's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. Our guests are still with us in the studio, and we're talking about the students' loan scheme. So I'll just get to Chinonso Obasi now. You patiently listened to the minister while he, tried to give us all the details about the scheme, and you have also spoken about, some of the drawbacks of the scheme. But now I want you to tell me about, the benefits of this scheme. A lot of people have said, well, yes, it would help our education system. You have more people in school and all of that. But do you agree that those are the benefits of this scheme?
Well, obviously, the scheme is really going to help to encourage people to go to school, in the sense that a lot of young persons or a lot of young people desire to go to school, but the cost of schooling sometimes become an impediment or a setback for them achieving that dream. So for the president to have graciously signed this into law, another thing is for the young people to know that this is what is in place, because sometimes the government might have a goodwill to put policies to better the life of citizens, and ignorantly the citizens don't even know about it. the National Orientation Agency have to also swing into action by giving this proper orientation to young people, that now you have no other reason. There is no justification to say this is why you are not going to school, because government have made provisions to assist you in getting this education. Perhaps, I don't know, but I think the government must also, because the chief executives of the higher institution, their own side, they may see this as being beneficial too, because having known that the government is giving you 500,000 for tuition fee, they will also go back to committee of vice chancellors to think how to also increase their tuition fee. Although the minister is not with us again, but the no tuition fee is a paperwork. Every Nigerian student pays for tuition, but the government is always shying away from accepting that we pay. It is only in paper they say no tuition fee, but every now and then the students are made to pay tuition fee. So if the government is very much sincere about that,
I think the government actually put that into cognizance, because they mentioned the fact that students pay for charges, different charges. So that is in the act. So I think that is
yes,
it's part of it.
Yes, the charges they pay for, they also receive allocations. Every month, like I earlier said in my last position, every public institution receives allocation every month for the smooth running of their institution. Take for instance, Federal Polytechnic Oko, one of the young boys I'm training there in the school, called me to inform me that there is a little challenge in the institution between the student union government and the school authority. What is the problem? That the institution want to start charging what they call examination fee. After a student must have undergone certain studies, the onus should be upon the institution to test the proficiency and the capacity of the student to what he has been taught. Why now subjecting that student to pay again before he can sit for exam? So, you know, for me, there are a lot of bottlenecks in our institutions, but one of my fears on this thing is, let the chief executives not see this as an opportunity to increase some of the charges. Let me use that terminology. Let them not use it to increase some of the charges, to meet up a way to also recoup what the government has given to the students. Okay. You know, like the closest public university here with us is University of Abuja. The students called my attention early this year or ending of last year, where the chief executive of an institution have to increase the charges from over 200%, where you see students who were paying over 35,000 naira for charges now subjected to pay over 200,000 naira. So now, without government giving this kind of financial support, so a chief executive officer who has such courage to increase charges from 35% to 200%, having heard that the government is already giving the scholars 500,000, don't you think he's going to increase it to meet up to recoup that much? So for me, the benefits are so much. One, just like the educationist here said, it will really increase patriotism, the spirit of patriotism. Sometimes the young people in Nigeria don't see there is any reason to even die for the Nigeria or to even giving their best for the Nigeria, because they believe there's nothing they are benefiting for Nigeria. They pay for their security, they construct their roads by themselves, they have to dig borehole for themselves to get water. So when you look around, the major infrastructural development that ought to be provided by the government is being done by the citizens. So, but the government...
Not in all cases.
Not in all, some cases. So, but when you come in this case of the government coming to relieve the load of paying for certain charges, man, every young person who have benefited to that will definitely see it that he is loved by his nation, and he has a responsibility to also love the nation back. Okay. So it will increase participation in education, which will also reduce the illiteracy level and increase literacy. And perhaps it will give us a more conducive environment. Because one thing is, government having policies and the citizens don't understand it. And I always say, education is always the key to prosperity. When people when people understand you very well, you can now discuss in the same frequency. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Chinonso, for your thoughts there. I mean, you raised some issues which I also wanted to talk about. The issue of arbitrary charges in tertiary institutions. You, as an educationist, how do you think government can tackle that in line of these, these loan scheme? Just like he said, that some institutions having in mind that students now have enough money, I mean, at their disposal, so they want to get this money from the students. So, what can government actually do, at least, to sanitize, universities, especially to, correct these arbitrary charges?
Okay, now, thank you. Coming from what I read from what the ASU president said, ASU chairman, you see, the universities complain about inadequate funding. And when we try to run away from that, we run away from the truth. I attended university here at home and I attended university outside. Just here at the back door in Ghana when I was a master's student. The place I will take my lectures is so, at least I don't know what the situation is now, but I hope that they've maintained the standard. I didn't find that in my own faculty here where I attended. I undertook an undergraduate. Because there is funding for universities. There should be funding for universities to renovate their buildings, to upgrade whatever it is that is lacking. Well, the universities and institutions of higher learning get money from governments, but most of these monies are not enough to actually undertake to improve the facilities. That is one fact. One thing, the other thing is the sincerity of the management of institutions across the country to not to use the students' loan. After all, how many students are going to get the loan? There are some who will never get the loan. So if you use the idea of some are going to come using the students' loan to hike, then there are those who might not be able to pay. One thing I believe is we need to just focus on how we can make our educational system better. When we attended university, I remember it is 3,000 that I paid as registration fee, and I paid 90 naira throughout every year as accommodation fee. Here at Ahmadu Bello University, 90 naira. I do know that there was a giveaway. There's no way. Because those are friends who stayed off campus. They were paying lots of money, 50,000 naira to rent an accommodation that didn't even have the kind of facilities that we had. At least as a student who lived in Iksaramat, there was water every time. There was electricity, and we even, I don't know if they are coming to arrest me now, we used the electricity to cook our food, and and the school was paying. Yes, so yes, for a long, that was when universities were getting monies and then charging us a little bit. Now, these monies, allocations that goes to the university have not been reviewed, and then the cost of living has hiked. So sometimes this is where the management run into problems and would like to raise the charges, but to raise it by 200% is also not fair, because there is no way everybody is going to be able to get this. Exam fee, it's a practice almost everywhere in the world. The problem is when it is exorbitant. But even in secondary school, we students pay exam fee. That's unfortunate. They pay exam fees. It's actually factored into it because
my child in crash even pays exam fees.
Yes. So this is where the problem is. The real thing we should be talking about is whenever anything is exorbitant, particularly that will now cause many to be disadvantaged. If I have acquired education from public schools, primary public school, secondary school public school, university, all public schools, and then, I mean, maybe I might not, but standard education, why should this not continue? So this is what we should be talking about, and we hope that this students' loan scheme would actually augment the number of people going to the university is very important.
Okay. Do you think this development now, this student loan scheme, will now allow government to give autonomy to federal universities for them to be able to, raise ask charges and all that? Because it's one of the reasons why the government, has approved this loan scheme to give autonomy to federal universities so that they can, raise funds by themselves and be able to, provide the necessary facilities, equipment, upgrade the standard of, learning and teaching in the universities. So, and with this development now, people are saying, well, it's the open door.
I hope they will have a large number of beneficiaries. The question was put to the Honorable Minister. He skipped it. We wanted to know how many, for instance, how many students that the government was looking at to give them at one tranche. Maybe if we have, let's say, 50,000 across the states of the Federation, or even more. Why not if we have the funds? Then the universities or the institutions will now place a charge on each of these students. So if your 500,000 naira is paid for you, maybe we'll take a particular percent. Whatever they get from that becomes part of their IGR. But the moment that is not what it is, it becomes a problem. Almost all the places where I attended universities, we had to pay charges for the monies we got. I got a merit bursary for my PhD at Stellenbosch University in South Africa. There was a charge to the fee. Yes, there was a charge. I knew how much money I was getting and also had to pay the university. After it was direct, I got the money from the university. And these are some of the things we are suggesting that we should look at global best practices. There are global best practices. For instance, when I got a merit bursary for a PhD, the scholarship was tied to me doing well within the first 2 years before I could continue. For the third year, even though I was doing well, I was not allowed to access the money. I needed to access the money upon graduation, so that if I become lazy, for instance, and do not want to finish the PhD, I won't get the money. So it became an incentive. And indeed, it was an incentive, because when I completed my dissertation and did the examination and went for graduation, this money was paid directly into my account the day the email dropped that I had now acquired a PhD. And I used it to buy an air ticket to go for the graduation. So this practice, there are global best practices which we as Nigerians need to copy, so that this loan will work, and beyond the loan, so that the educational system would be better than what it is, because it's dwindling now. You meet undergraduates, you talk to them, you begin to wonder, and they will tell you they attended the same, or they are attending the same university that you attended. And you knew at the time that you were there, the quality was far better than now. And now they have all the facilities with the smartphone. They can access 1 billion of books. Then what is happening? They should even be better than our own situation, where we relied solely on the physical library.
So how can we, make these students, this young population of Nigerians actually see this as an act that should make them more patriotic, and not see it like, oh, this is, if my governor is getting his share, or if, people who are in government, so this is my own of the national cake, and not see a reason to want to return payback and even serve the nation. How can we change the narrative in that light?
Well, on that basis, making sure that scholars don't see this as their own national cake, it then becomes imperative that students' performance must be checked before giving this loan. Because I can assure you that
student performance must be checked. Are you saying that when they get admission, they will not be able to access the loan? Because you have to get the loan for you to get admission. Then is it after the first year that the assessment will have to be, or before they get admission into the university?
Like my days as a NANS president, when I usually go to institutions to negotiate on behalf of newly admitted students, and the chief executive, one of them once told me that they are not yet their students. that until they start lectures,
and their names are written in pencil.
That is when they have become a student. Then I can now have the jurisdiction to say these are Nigerian students. That at this point, that they are still in the process of becoming students. So for me, someone making his jump, getting the required score to get into a university, it shouldn't be a prerequisite that you assess the loan. You must have been a student in a verified institution, if you ask me my own opinion. Thereby, if you're already a student and you are taken very seriously by your attendance in classes, because majority of students don't attend class. They have a way of paying their way and making their way, and until exam is ready.
Certain is the word.
Certain is the word. So the government must also be very careful of not using this loan to encourage hooliganism and truancy and any other form of art. In my own school, I'm a postgraduate student in Bayes University. And what is considered very, very more important than any other thing is your attendance to class. If you don't meet up certain attendance, you cannot write your exams. Before you ask any question, before you can make any report about what you are not getting right or what you are not comfortable with, your attendance must be checked too, even though if you are religious enough with your studies. So for me, making sure that this is not really a national cake, though the scholars don't take it as a national cake, the process from the beginning must be thorough. And it is to make sure that the people who are getting this money are people who are dedicated to their studies, by making sure of attendance, at least that first semester of you, of coming to school. There must be a track record that you are faithful in coming to school. Or anybody, any young person in the society can calculate it that, let me get JAMB. I can even pay machinery to get me a JAMB. Once I get this money, I use it to start a business. The aim is defeated.
Okay. Yes, but then the government has already said that the money will not be paid into individuals' account. So once the money is going to be paid to university, you have to get enrolled into a university, and then the university gets the money. So the loopholes, I think to a large extent, there will be a way that they could be covered. One of the things I would have suggested...
Do you think there is need for financial counseling or guidance?
That is the point I'm actually going to say, that we need to educate the minds of young Nigerians that we don't pluck money from trees. This concept of honesty, integrity, these are values that we had before, which maybe they're actually dwindling now. Some of our lecturers will say newspapers were kept on tables on their way from the hostel. They drop the money and pick up the newspapers. If you do that today, all the newspapers would have been taken before 6 a.m. so that nobody sees who is taking them, and there will be no money. Now, it was the same. I've gathered, I had a conversation with someone around Ibadan and Ife in those days. People will keep their wares on the way, and you drop the money, you pick it up. So what happened to us? And when you check the behavior of the most young people, because it's not everybody, and then most Nigerians, there's this sense of entitlement that, like you mentioned, this is my own portion of the national cake. Until we get to kill this spirit, whatever programs we bring, I don't see it working. I do believe that as much as we will allow those who are already in the university to access these funds, government's interest is to bring in those who are outside, who feel we cannot because of our financial status. I stayed 6 years without going to the university after my secondary school education. And to a large extent, it had to do with my family background. Until things started to work, that I made it to the university. So if God has helped, since God has helped me, and this is what the president might be thinking, why not we allow those indigent students whom ordinarily would not even dream beyond secondary school, let's bring them in then once they come in, we will now be able to raise their consciousness to want to work hard to remain, and then it continues. So I believe that it is possible.
Thank you so much. It is possible. A very good way to end the conversation. Many thanks, Dr. Philip John Hayab, an educationist. Thank you for your insight.
Thank you for
And you have to pay back the electricity bill for the electric cooker. Of course. Thank you so much, Comrade Chinon Sobasi, President, Nigerian Youth Union. Thank you for your insights. Of course, we appreciate Professor Tahir Mamanesian, who joined us in the course of the conversation, the Honorable Minister of Education, and we do sincerely appreciate him for his time. So that's Good Morning Nigeria today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Yenri John. Have a swell weekend.
And I'm Demola Adeye. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend.